talking about Glucose Goddess recommending protein and vegetables after an intense high rocks workout and to prevent glucose drops later in the day. And my thing to that is like, what about glycogen stores and replenishing glycogen?
Yeah. It's so common sense. It seems like, I mean, to us, it's so common sense. But
yeah.
This is what we do.
But like, I feel like someone like that in power, unfortunately, she says it with such authority that to the general population, it seems like common sense to them, right? The way that it's posed.
Mm-hmm. She's very well spoken, and
some of her information is good too. I will say that.
Well, that's how it is with all of the people that are spreading misinformation. It's like 95% legit and then 5% totally bogus. And because so much of it is legit, that 5% just blows right over. Like people just absorb it like it's fact because most of the other stuff they say is totally legit. So it's hard. You have to have like a really good ear for it, but it can be really difficult to pinpoint like, oh, that piece of that is actually really bad advice and not true. But I think when it comes to the blood sugar stuff, I've talked to so many people who are doing CGMs and who are concerned about their blood sugar. And many of them, they're not pre-diabetic. Their A1C is totally normal. Everything is looking good, but they're just curious and they want to learn more about it. And there is a fear over like your blood sugar spiking and your blood sugar going up and trying to keep it like within this very, very tight range all the time. And it's not like a tragedy if your blood sugar goes up a little bit here and there. Like if you eat a scone, I've done a CGM myself to like experiment with it and see what would happen, you know? It's like, yeah, my blood sugar goes up when I eat a scone and then my pancreas does what it's supposed to do and it brings it down and I'm fine. And like, this isn't a great tragedy.
Yeah.
It's more like prolonged and excessive elevated glucose levels that we need to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with all this, like this information that's online and this worry about cortisol and all that kind of stuff, it's like I hear it all the time, like, oh my gosh, I have a CGM and I ate and then my blood sugar spikes. And it's like, that's because you ate food. And then it goes back down. And then it's so common for people to think it's super negative now. And it's like, that is what our body does when we take in food. Is our blood sugar constantly is going to go up and down. And like you said, it's like, it's just over time, if it's constantly going very high and sitting there, then that's when it becomes an issue, you know? Right. And I think that's where people are talking about it on social media and really making this big fear-based topics about anything. Anytime your blood sugar spikes, it's a bad thing, but it's just what our body naturally does.
Yeah.
Right. And it's how high too. It's not just like that it went up. It's how high did it go up?
And how fast.
Yeah, exactly. And then what was the response afterwards too? I think that it's nuanced, just like so many other things we talk about. And I think it probably deserves an entire episode.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think the Nashville has a CGM. I think there was a course on CGM that was done by, I think there's a Stella one.
Oh, cool.
Hey, speaking of Nashville, since we're all traveling this weekend, maybe we should talk about nutrition while you're traveling.
That's a great idea.
Because that is something that we get asked about a ton. Should we intro the podcast?
Yes, let's do it.
Hello and welcome to the Nutrition Digest podcast. We are your hosts and registered dietitians, Alicia Kugler, Tara Valenti, and Summer Merrick Williams. As always, we are here to dish up the nutrition tea, to dispel the myths, to inspire, inform, and hopefully entertain. Today, we are diving into a very practical topic that is relevant for anyone who's ever found themselves wandering through an airport, hungry, stuck in a car for hours, or staring at a minibar, wondering what the heck to eat. We're going to talk about travel nutrition today, what to pack, how to prep, how to stay consistent without being that person on the trip with 17 containers of chicken and rice. We're sharing our favorite go-to snacks, tips for navigating airports and airplanes, and how to feel good when you travel without falling into that all or nothing trap, which I know is really challenging for a lot of us. So whether you are flying to a race, heading out on vacation, or traveling from work, we have you covered with today's content.
Yeah, this is such a relevant topic, especially like, hey, we're traveling to a conference this weekend. And I think all three of us are at different phases right now. So like Tara, you do have a race coming up. I am someone that has a lot of like food restrictions. I'm celiac and food allergies are a thing. And I remember even like a few years ago when I had to travel or go on a plane, I would get into the airport and I would be a hangry monster. And my now husband would be like, you didn't pack snacks. Now we have to run around the airport, checking every single like restaurant to see what you can have. And it would be like a cause of conflict and a lot of remorse. And there's been a few times where I've been on a plane and they have forgotten my gluten-free meal or the gluten-free meal. I see them pull a regular bun on top of the gluten-free meal. So like horror stories as someone that has like restrictions. I know summer for you, like you're dealing with some injuries and stuff. So like aches and pains on a plane is a real thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I'm not very tall and I can fit into a plane seat, I hate plane travel, or at least long term, because my back always hurts. I mean, you get sore, but really it's mostly my back and hips and stuff. But yeah, I want to make sure I stay fueled so I don't get hangry. No one likes to see a hangry dietitian. And I also want to make sure I'm hydrated. I don't want to get sick. I want to stay comfortable. I don't want to feel gross by eating either all the airplane food or eating just crap and candy and stuff like that, which is good, but I want to make sure I'm fueling myself with something nutritious as well so I don't start my trip off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, I think we've all been there where we've gone on a trip, maybe it's been a few years, but we've maybe gone on a trip and just like eaten junk pretty much the whole time. And like how that feels, it does not feel good. I know as a kid, when we would go on road trips, it was always like pack candy, you know, we got to have candy on the road trip. We would
Absolutely.
just sit in the car and just like go to town on candy. And like, that didn't actually feel great, but you know, at the time it was enjoyable, but later on you just feel like your teeth are disgusting, you're tired, like you're kind of grumpy, you just want maybe some protein or something.
Or a salad.
Maybe
I find
salad.
after a trip, especially if I'm super relaxed on what I'm eating or really just having the best time and not really thinking too much about it, by the end of the trip, I typically am craving like fresh veggies. Like a salad. All I want is fresh food.
Yeah.
And it's the first thing I can't wait to get is make us nice big salad with some nice fresh simple protein and start my journey off on the right foot now that I'm back, you know.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, exact same way. Like I'll sit usually on my plane ride home, I'm meal planning.
Me too. Me too. I'm writing a grocery list.
Yeah, I'm like so excited to just like eat really well when I get home.
See, I'm doing the Instacart order on the Uber ride home. So like I'll be like, hey, what am I Instacarting to my house so that I have groceries as soon as I get home? Because I could not stand like, well, because I've learned over time that if I get back and depending on the time of the day, I'm going to be tired. I'm not going to want to go to the grocery store, even though I know I need to go to the grocery store. I'm going to have a bunch of stuff frozen, but nothing fresh to eat. It's probably I'm arriving home in between meals. I haven't eaten very well because you're trying to get your bags and you're trying to like get out of the airport. Like it's just a shit show.
Yeah.
So what's something that you guys, if you're going on a plane trip, so when we get to the airport on Saturday, I know Tara and I are on the same flight. Alicia, you're on a different flight, but what is something that you will have with you on the plane to snack on?
I went shopping today already. I went to Whole Foods and I was like, I need to think about, okay, what do I need to bring for snacks for the plane? And then what do I need to have with me just in case I can't get to the grocery store when I arrive? So I picked up a bunch of protein balls. They have these new individual packets of like protein balls that are Whole Food brands. And they're actually really nice because they're balanced. They have a good amount of protein in them. They also have some healthy fats and carbs. I also picked up some protein bars. I picked up some like a lower sodium jerky. I picked up some little oat bites. What I usually struggle with at the airport is finding a carb source that isn't like a baked good. If gluten-free, because I find at the airport, they'll have like maybe a gluten-free muffin, but they won't have necessarily gluten-free bread or anything that has like carbs in it. And if I don't have those carbs there and I just rely on protein and vegetables, I'm not going to feel very good digestively. So I like to pack something like I picked up some rice crackers as well. So I'll just have those with me so that I know I have that. And then I picked up electrolyte tablets. So I have those in my bag.
Oh, cool.
Tara, what do you pack?
I usually go light for the most part. I'm bringing a protein bar. I'm a big fan of Go Macro bars. They're gentle on the digestive tract. They generally work for me. They do have oats in them, which I'm sensitive to, but it seems like for some reason there's like not enough oats in them that I still do okay with them. And I actually really like slicing up a bunch of apples and just munching on apples. It's actually like the most refreshing thing to have on the flight. And you're getting a bunch of fiber, which I feel like is a very important and helpful when traveling. So probably going to have some type of fruit, potentially going to have some type of protein bar with me. Yeah, I like to keep it pretty simple.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to have to figure out what seat you're in because I may be visiting you during the flight.
Like
I usually make sure I have an extra thing of water. So that's my big thing. And I usually also, depending on how long the flight is, I will get one type of candy. I'll get something just because I get bored and I want to snack on something, whether it's M&Ms or something. But usually I'll either have like a protein bar or I'll have some jerky or something like that just to kind of keep me full so I don't go for chips and things like that. Or I don't often enjoy what they're being served on the plane for a meal. It often grosses me out. So I just try and make sure I eat something usually before I get on the plane as well. So I'm not hungry when I start my trip, and then eat something that's pretty healthy. And so I'm good to go, and then just have a few little easy snacks. Or maybe it's like a trail mix. That's another one I'll get. If I don't want to get the candy, I'll get something with some nuts. So it's still fun. I can snack on it, and it takes time and is distracting and yummy. But still, you're getting those healthy fats in. You get a little bit of the sweet. You get some carbs.
Well, and I find in today's day and age too, like if you're flying within North America and your flight is less than 6 hours, they aren't going to serve you a meal for free. You have to pay for it. Yeah. It's only if you're flying like intercontinental that they'll give you a meal. And a lot of times it's like not super a lot of food. So I'm totally on board with what you're saying about getting a meal before you get on the plane, making sure it has a good protein source, making sure it has some fruits and veggies, making sure that it's nice and balanced and I feel full. Because the last thing I want to do is like break down mid-flight and like pay $20 for a little gluten-free oatmeal cup, which is not worth it. Or like a fruit tray that's just sad and soggy.
At SFO, there's a Proper Foods. Oh my God. That place has saved me so many times, either on my way out or on my way home. So I'll get home from wherever it is super late and I want to have a meal, like I'm starving, but I have no food in the house because you empty out your refrigerator before you leave town. I can stop at Proper Foods and get something that's like super legit, really nutritious, and also tasty. This is like, feels like an ad for Proper Foods. They should pay us.
I've never been there. I've never had it. I'm going to have to check it out.
Oh my God.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's great.
It's a game changer.
Is it
like
in the United Terminal?
It's in Harvey Milk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Terminal 1.
All the terminals are connected. That's the nice thing about SFO is you can go between the terminals just by walking. And that's like something that I always do before I even board with SFO. It's nice to just like get like 2-mile walk inside the airport.
Yeah.
I always do a big walk before I get on the plane.
There's also a Ritual Coffee, which I'm a big fan of. So I always stop there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the biggest travel challenges that people have. So one of them is limited food availability in airports, in gas stations, or if you're traveling by train, that can be limited too. The shift in time zones can be really tricky, especially if you're going pretty far away. Sometimes it's like a, 8-hour, 9-hour, 10-hour difference that can really throw off your meal times. It can throw off your hunger signals. Inconsistent hydration and access to caffeine and alcohol can definitely throw people off. The drinking in airports, it's kind of like it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Like there's no rules in the airport. You can drink at any hour. It's like 7 a.m. People are having mimosas or whatever it is. And if you're drinking before you fly, that's like a recipe for dehydration, but it also makes you have to go to the bathroom more. So it can be really inconvenient and people will like have alcohol, but not drink water because they don't want to be getting up to go to the bathroom a lot on the plane, which is another recipe for dehydration.
Mm-hmm. And we'll dive into dehydration a little bit more soon.
Yep. Just disrupted routines too. Like you're not at home. You don't have access to everything that you normally have access to. Your routine is a little bit different. You might be waking up earlier or later or have jet lag. You're not having your kind of typical daily pattern, which makes it difficult to plan and difficult to track your intake. fatigue and stress can be challenging. I know if you're a parent and you're traveling with kids, that can be extremely fatiguing and stressful. And like a lot of times, parents will spend more time taking care of their kids than taking care of their own needs. And so they find themselves maybe hungry and dehydrated. There's also the vacation mindset, which is, I think, something that we probably spend, I know I spend a lot of time talking to clients that I work with about. It's that mindset around like that kind of screw it, I'm on vacation, whatever. Everything just kind of like gets thrown out the window. Let's just have a good time. I don't want to worry about this. And while that can feel great in the moment, in the long run, sometimes that doesn't feel great. And especially if you have goals that you're trying to work toward, that can be a challenge as well. One of my tips that I definitely want to share to our audience today, anyone that's listening, is before you go on your trip, set an intention for that trip. So you can ask yourself, like, what type of trip this is going to be and what kind of trip do you want it to be? So if it's like a routine travel that you're doing for work, and these are things that you do regularly all the time, do you want this to be a trip where you actually are really mindful about your intake? You are still tracking your food. You are paying attention to your goals and trying to hit your protein targets and trying to get all your fruits and veggies in and all of that. Still staying consistent with exercise. Like, is that what you want to aim for with this trip? Or is it the opposite? Is it a trip where you're going on vacation and the last thing you want to do is be hyper focused on your nutrition and making sure that you're staying consistent with your exercise routine and all of that? Maybe you want to just let loose and totally chill. And that's the purpose of this vacation, is to kind of relax and enjoy and not hyper focus on all the numbers and structure and all of that. Okay, fine. That's your intention. You've made a conscious decision to do that. So kind of deciding what you want out of the trip, I think, can be really helpful, because you're giving yourself permission to either relax, focus more on like a mindfulness type strategy rather than hyper focused on numbers and tracking and counting and checking off all the boxes, or you are trying to stay focused and stay consistent with your routines, and you can set that intention ahead. So that's one thing that I like to recommend. And that's definitely something I do before I travel. But really, the key message here is that it's not really about perfection with travel. It's just about showing up with a flexible plan so that you can feel good and you don't feel like you're starting over when you get home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I like to do, and I talk about this with most of my clients when they go on trips, whether it's a work trip or a vacation, but especially if it's vacation, I try and encourage them, just like what you said, this is a vacation. So it's not time to be crazy rigid and set all these rules around your food and everything. But what I do try and say is, say you're at a resort or you're traveling around, say you're in Italy, right? And you love Italian food. Great. Enjoy the hell out of your pasta, your wine, whatever. But if you're just going to have a breakfast and it's not that big of a deal for you, then have something mindful at breakfast. Be smart at breakfast and lunch, because it's not that big of a deal. Don't just go out to McDonald's or get a burger when you're in Italy, or I don't know, like, just stay on track when you can and get movement in that, but then really enjoy the food that you're going to eat without guilt, without regret, and lean in. Mm-hmm. You know, so be mindful when you can, when it doesn't matter, when it's not like the best meal ever, or it's pancakes. Well, you can have pancakes anytime. You know, if they're super special Italian ricotta, whatever pancakes with, like, I don't know, a hot Italian man serving them, like, fine, whatever. But if it's just like, you know, a regular 2 eggs on toast, get something smart. Get something smarter at breakfast. Get something smart, and then go to town at dinner. You know, or don't have the fried meal. Have the fresh fish. If you're somewhere that's coastal and has all these fresh things, get that. Mm-hmm. And that can really help you stay on track without really coming undone.
And one thing that I like to kind of live by is, like, even when I'm traveling for vacation, for myself and I tell my clients, it's kind of like, it's asking yourself, find the balance between, like, what do you really want to experience in terms of food and, like, sharing dishes and things like that. But then also, like, what choices will help you still to feel good. Because we talked about like the candy on a road trip and you end up feeling like garbage after. What choices or what changes can you make that will still help you feel good at the end of the day? And I think one of those big things, like for a lot of people, that's like a low hanging fruit is just hydration. So just staying on top of water and like making sure, because I think a lot of people don't realize that that's an easy one, that our body can't distinguish between hunger and thirst sometimes. Like we can feel peckish when really we're thirsty, or we're feeling kind of lethargic and we kind of smother that lethargy with caffeine. That's not necessarily going to be the solution. That actually might make the problem worse. And we don't realize that, like, hey, especially if we have long flights, the dry airplane cabin can really dehydrate us. The inconsistent access to water, because, you know, the flight attendants will only come around like twice or once in the whole flight, maybe more or less depending where you're going, which can mean that maybe you don't always have access to water, or you don't feel like having water when they come around. And we talked about like the caffeine and alcohol really making it worse. And I know like sometimes it can be hard even when you arrive in a place, because depending where you are, you might not have access to refill water bottles if you're in that final destination. So Europe's a good example of that. There's often not water refill stations all the way around. And especially if you're out walking all day, it may not be as easy to like carry a water bottle with you. So it's kind of being a little bit more intentional about like, how are we making sure that we're on top of the hydration? And I would say like really kind of thinking about like, hey, if I'm losing fluid on the plane from breathing, from skin, from plasma volume, from digestion, or whatever it may be, how I make sure that I'm kind of replenishing that. And that can be kind of even before you get on the plane, thinking about like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I have like 1 or 2 bottles with me that I'm filling once I'm right through security, because you can't bring fluids through, don't forget. And I'm always like a big advocate that like I have 2 water bottles with me, one with electrolytes, one with water. And then I'll buy a third drink that'll be like carbonated water. So I have something fun. And then I'll always ask for a glass of water whenever they come around on the plane. So it's like, hey, maybe I'm going to get like a coffee, and I'm going to get an orange juice, and I'm going to get coffee and a glass of water. And it might seem excessive to some people, but it will help you feel better on the other side, especially if you're someone that you like to do a lot of movement in your final destination, whether you are like someone that's like training still while you're on vacation, or you're working and you're getting to that final destination, you plan to work out after. It's like, if you're dehydrated from the plane, you're going to feel like trash. Mm-hmm. And that's not a fun feeling. You feel absolutely horrible, and your lungs and your heart will be screaming at you. So just kind of having that rule of thumb. And even when you reach that final destination, one hack that I find that's really helpful is picking up a case of water. So most places you'll be able to go to the supermarket, you'll be able to pick up a case of water. Like if possible, try to get, like, I know in Europe, they have like the glass bottles, which you can recycle, which I think are a better option. Obviously, we want to be mindful of plastic usage, but then kind of thinking about like what works for you and being intentional about when you're drinking water. So say, for example, if you know you're going to be out touring all day, if you're on vacation, hey, first thing in the morning, front load a lot of water when you first get up and with breakfast, because you're going to be having breakfast at the hotel. Then walk around when you know you're going to get close to lunchtime, finish that water bottle that you're having. Have water with those restaurant meals. Take breaks for coffee shops so you can get a washroom break and you can fill up on water. And if you're stuck in conferences, like I feel like sometimes when you're like in a conference or like watching lectures, hearing talks, like it's easy to have water in front of you and just kind of be sipping on it just to stay awake. And hey, if you have to sneak out in the middle of a conversation, I don't think it's the end of the world. Sometimes we have to suck up our own pride, because I think some people are like, well, I can't leave in the middle of a talk to go to the washroom. And I'm like, so what? You're taking care of your health. It's not a big deal. I never understood that myself, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, I think that is a thing for some people. Like I know someone in particular who is an older individual, and they have to go to the bathroom frequently because of, you know, changes that happen when you're older. And they severely dehydrate themselves before flying because they are such a rule follower that they will not get up if this fasten your seatbelt sign is lit. Like they won't do it. And have you noticed that on flights, I feel like it's up the whole time. Like they never take it off. It's like, it'll be off for like 4 seconds, then they turn it right back on.
Yeah.
It's like, if you waited for that every single time, your bladder will burst. Like you got to be a rebel. You got to get up and you got to just go. Like,
or you'll get a UTI, and no one wants that either.
Seriously.
Not cute.
And then,
not cute.
No. And another thing, especially while you're traveling, nobody wants a UTI when you're traveling. But another thing too, in terms of like gross things that happen when you travel, is constipation. That is a big issue for a lot of people, not having that regular routine with bowel movements because you're maybe in a different time zone, so your schedule is off, you're getting up earlier or you're getting up later. But hydration plays such a major role in being able to go to the bathroom regularly. Obviously, fiber is going to be the other side of the coin there. Like we need to have both. But making sure that you're hydrated is going to be absolutely key in helping you to be regular so that you can really feel good and enjoy your days while you're traveling instead of feeling super backed up and not happy.
What about when we fly? So talking about fueling for flights. So this is thinking, flights that are across country, like what we're going to go on, like 4 to 5 hours. It's important that you have a strategy for fueling. You can try and rely on the food that's going to be served on the plane. But like Alicia was saying, oftentimes now we don't get regular meals anymore on planes, and they're not always the most nutrient dense or the most tasty. So we want to think of having food with us if we can, so that we're prepared and don't get too hungry, we don't get too hangry, and we set ourselves up for success when we arrive. And another thing about making sure that you're fueled is thinking about if you're going internationally, especially, you have to go through customs at the end. You may be waiting another hour or two plus just to get through your customs line before you're able to get some food. So super important and not too hard to do. So first of all, think of packing snacks that you'll actually like to eat and pack more than you think you need. Delays happen. Also, you may get hungrier, or maybe if you have kids with you or a partner who hasn't packed any food, sharing is caring. Think of focusing on portable proteins like hard-boiled eggs, tuna pouches, jerky, protein bars, cheese sticks, etc., and easy carbs like pretzels, crackers, fruit, oatmeal cups, rice cakes. And those are things that you can also have not just on a flight, but also if you're traveling in the car or staying in a hotel, things like that. And if you're traveling on a flight that's longer than 4 hours, think of bringing a full meal like a wrap or a sandwich that you bought at the airport, a grain bowl, maybe a packaged salad with some protein on it. That'll help keep you fuller for longer, but also it will provide you with good nutrients. You get your proteins, your carbs, some healthy fats in there. That's going to really, really benefit you nutritionally. And then also things that are TSA friendly. So things like packaged hummus, oats and protein powder, nut butters and pouches, things like that are already secured and previously packaged or sealed. That's a really, really great way to bring foods and you're not going to get dinged for them by bringing them on the cabin and the plane.
I will say though, if someone was eating a hard-boiled egg
or tuna
on the plane or tuna, I would be like, so I have like really bad motion sickness. I get nauseous pretty easily. I have to take medication for it. And even with medication, it's sometimes like horrible. And if someone was eating a hard-boiled egg, I don't know if I can keep it together.
To be fair, I completely agree. And maybe that wouldn't be my recommendation necessarily for a plane trip, but maybe if you're in a car by yourself or doing something. But honestly, please have respect for your fellow travelers and don't bring something stinky on the plane. And again, even if it's like people come in with like McDonald's or other like fast foods or fried chicken, or I don't know, whatever. And it's really anything that smells a lot, not even bad, but if it's just a very odorous food, good or bad, nothing is worse than being stuck in a cabin on a plane or in a small area with someone eating a very smelly meal. So have respect.
What is the grossest thing anyone has done on an airplane? Not
or
us,
the weirdest thing,
but like the weirdest
food related or
food related.
I would say anything related.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, food related would be coming back from France and someone had like a real stinky cheese on the plane, like smelled like feet, like really, really gnarly ass feet. That and the row next to me, that was the grossest food thing. And the grossest thing I've seen is like someone, I have long hair too, but someone putting their hair over the back of the seat or feet with no socks against the window.
So food wise, this was actually like impressive. So there was like a grandfather and his grandson, and they just went to Burger King and they got like massive, like multiple patty burgers and French fries, like full meals with like big sodas. And we're literally taking off. They've got their tray tables down, and you're not allowed to do that. Like, they need to be up. And the flight attendant is coming by, and they're like, you gotta like put your tray table up and eat that before we take off. And these people housed these meals like faster than any human. It was like insane. It was crazy how fast they ate these things.
No way.
And I was just sitting there like witnessing it all with my jaw open, like how fast they scarfed these meals down. But I will say probably the grossest thing that I've seen someone do on a flight was cut their fingernails.
No.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
Yeah. I wanted to just like jump out of the plane. I was like,
Oh my
so
gosh.
annoyed.
It's the noise and just the fact that they're doing personal hygiene on a plane.
The sound really
Yeah.
like, yeah.
That gave me the shudders. What about you, Alicia?
Yeah, I think the weirdest, so not weird, not gross food, but weird food. It was this family, and I totally get that they have lots of kids. Like bringing it a full, like their carry-on was just full of a picnic. And just like, it was just like, it just kept going. I think it was like an hour and a half of just course after course after course, this fruit and salad and like super nutrient dense stuff. But it just kind of like kept going. And I'm like, it's been an hour and a half and they're still eating over there. They're eating everything in the carry-on. It was impressive.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
can't
want to be in
even-
that family.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. I'm like, you could adopt me. More of a pet peeve than a gross is if someone's on a plane and they're sick, especially in today's day and age, and they're like hacking and like sneezing and like they're like blowing their nose. They don't have a mask on. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like internally in my head, I'm like freaking out.
And it's
Gnarly
like,
cough.
it's the most inconsiderate thing. Like, I got COVID on the flight to my honeymoon because someone did that. And I was sick my whole honeymoon. Like, I was sick with COVID during my entire honeymoon because
That's
of someone
awful.
Yeah.
who was so
Reza-
inconsiderate.
Reza also got COVID from a somebody on the plane when we were flying to Vienna, Austria, like our first trip after COVID outbreak. And I felt so bad. He was a mess for the first.
It was, dude, my honeymoon
That's
and
horrible.
my birthday. Like,
Oh no.
yeah, it was brutal. But
That's terrible.
yeah. So on that note, take good care of yourself while you're traveling so you don't get sick, because that can be really important. And if you are undernourished and not taking good care of your body, you're more likely to get the thing that the nasty guy sitting behind you has.
Yes.
Good point.
And traveling in general just suppresses your immune system. So just be careful. Take care of yourself.
So let's talk about what to do before you leave. I know we've been talking a lot about that being actually on the plane, but before you go, you can prepare ahead of time. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. I like to hop on Google Maps, and I'll probably do this for our trip to Nashville pretty soon here. And just, I feel like Alicia, you might
I've already done this. I've already done this. I've
but I'll
done
do
this
it too. I usually like to look up grocery stores, restaurants. And actually, if you go on Google and you do like the search nearby and you literally type in healthy food, you actually find a fair amount of good options for stuff that is legitimately healthy. Like, you'll find juice bars, and you'll find like little breakfast places that have like breakfast bowls that are relatively nutrient dense, and smoothie shops and things like that, depending on where you're located, right? But I do like to look ahead of time and see what's available to me and the hours that they're open. So depending on when you get there, you can quickly stop in, go to the grocery store, get some stuff to stock up on. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean like full on cooking stuff. It can just be snacks to take with you, because I find that that's really helpful too. Just making sure that you have stuff on hand for those moments where like you might be going from place to place and you're hungry, but there's nothing to eat, or, you know, you maybe just didn't know how long you were going to be out. You can have a protein bar or some jerky or whatever it is, or some fruit. And then the other thing I'll do is just check my accommodations too, to see exactly what I have at the accommodation. So do I have a full kitchen? If I do, awesome. We are definitely going to be using that kitchen. That also tells me that I've got, you know, I like to check and see, is there a microwave? Is there a stove? Is there like an actual oven? Do we have a full-size refrigerator, a freezer? What are we working with here? Because that can tell me how extensive my supply list needs to be. I actually really love getting a place with a kitchen and like cooking. And especially if I'm like traveling with friends, because all of my friends love food, we like to like plan menus together and come up with fun breakfasts and different meals and stuff. And if you're traveling in an area that's outside of your normal pocket, going to like a farmer's market, getting some local food, it can be like a whole experience. If you're staying in a hotel and you just have a mini fridge, that can be a game changer too. Like stock that thing up with some Greek yogurt, some like fresh, delicious stuff that does require a refrigerator. And now you've got a lot more options for things so that, you know, maybe you get in late or maybe you have to leave early. You can just throw down a yogurt and head out the door or whatever it is. But knowing what tools you have available to you ahead of time can really help in your planning and just mentally wrapping your head around a game plan that you can execute when you actually get to your destination.
And I will say for all the celiac people out there, just shameless plug, because that's my life. If you can, try to pack toaster bags. Because usually toasters are not going to be safe if you're gluten-free. So just little bags to put your bread in, to put in the toaster. Those exist. Amazon, really cheap, really easy. And just making sure you have stuff to wash the dishes when you get there. I think a lot of people don't recognize with allergies and celiac that like anyone could have used the dishes, anyone could have used the pots and pans. So just making sure you do a wash before you use it, just to make sure you aren't going to potentially make yourself sick.
So once you're at your destination, there's some things that you can obviously do to help yourself get more nutrients in your day and set yourself up for success. So at a restaurant, you can look ahead at different restaurants, look at the menu, get an idea of what you really want to eat and what may be a more nutrient dense meal. So look for protein, color, like in your veggies, and fiber. Think of also grilled, not fried. Split appetizers or entrees if the portions are really big, or desserts. And don't be afraid to ask for modifications, such as having extra vegetables instead of maybe French fries or dressing on the side, etc. And also just keep in mind too, that not every meal has to be perfect. Like I was saying before, if you're on vacation, you're on vacation. It's okay to enjoy some of what life has to offer. You don't have to be living in this box. We're going to Nashville, so I'm super excited to have some barbecue or some fried chicken or something like that. Do I eat that all the time? No, but if that's what Nashville is known for, you better be damn sure I'm going to have it. Also, think about having a treat, one treat a day, totally cool, but maybe try and limit it. Again, don't go for something you can get at home very easily just because you're on vacation. So maybe if like you want to get ice cream or have a really awesome dessert, then don't have French toast at breakfast, or don't have ice cream in the morning and then cake later. Also focus on energy, digestion, and sleep versus food guilt. So instead of thinking about what these foods are not, or being in trouble or having guilt, think of what you can eat that is. What's going to give you energy for your day? What's going to help you with your digestion? What's not going to stop you up so you actually get to enjoy your time instead of sitting on the toilet? Or also, what is fun about this? What is a meal that you've always wanted to try that you haven't had? And then you can do it, not feel guilty about it, and just move on and have the best occasion and best experience. And also another big thing, and I talk about this a lot with my clients, whether if you're traveling for work or pleasure, is trying to get movement in where you can. So if you're going to somewhere you've never been before, go on a walk. Go explore some things, check out what's popular, check out what's new, go to a park. I spoke to a client earlier today who's going on a work trip. So I looked up where she's going and I said, hey, there's a big park. She's training for a 10K. There's a park. It's a 4.2 mile loop. That's where you can go. If the weather's great, you get your run in. And there's these really great monuments and little treasures that are special about this town that she's going in. Also, you can rent a bike. You can do some yoga, like we were talking about. If there's a gym at your hotel, you can utilize that as well. Play with your kids. Go in the pool. If you're going somewhere really warm that has a pool or the beach or the ocean, play with your kids and make that exercise. Like, have fun And fun can be movement too. And then also, if you're working or traveling for a race or something, bring the breakfast foods you love, like overnight oats, instant coffee, protein oats, etc. And again, same client that I was just mentioning, she was telling me today that she's going on a work trip, and she's bringing her protein oats. So she mixes her oats with protein powder and chia seeds. She's bagging them up in individual little baggies. So she has them for each day. So she knows her mornings are set up for success and she's getting a good amount of protein. And if attending group meals, aim to fuel during the day so you have flexibility at night, or look up the menu beforehand. And so you have ideas of what you can order. That's not necessarily setting you apart. Like, nobody wants to be the person who has the side salad for dinner. But that maybe you have other options, and you know you can go in with your eyes wide open and have some really good options that maybe aren't the most unhealthy. And for races, plan out your race day nutrition ahead of time and pack your essentials. And like what Tara was saying, when you get to your destination, go to the store, go to a Whole Foods, get that race day nutrition and anything else that you need so you're already prepped and ready to go.
I love the suggestion of just basing your decisions on how's this going to make me feel, because that can be different based on your mood at the time and the moment. And like, sometimes it's like, I'm in Hawaii and I want a malasada, and that's going to bring me so much joy, and I'm absolutely going to have one. And sometimes it's like, I had a malasada already, so I'm going to have some poke because that feels very nutrient dense and like a meal that's going to nourish me instead of a meal that's going to weigh me down. And so you can kind of just tap into what's going to make me feel good and use that as a guide for making your decisions, and stepping back and thinking about the big picture too. Like, if I had to give myself a letter grade for how I ate today, what grade would I give myself? And you get to decide how you keep the score with that. But I like to think about it in that way as well. Like, I'd give myself a C today. Like, I passed, but I could do better tomorrow. And kind of like using that to guide your decisions, I think, can sometimes be a helpful tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was going to say, like, making decisions based on how your body's feeling too. So like, I think it's the mental, but it's also the physical of like checking in with your digestion. How are you feeling? Like, I know for myself, like if I'm out and about and I'm feeling like things are not moving the way they should, I've asked myself, like, what's going to actually help me? And like, is getting a giant side salad or starter salad going to help with that? Like, yeah, probably it is. And so kind of gauging that, because the last thing you want is to feel shitty, no pun intended, when you're on traveling, whether it's for work or for fun or whatever it is. And the reality is if you do travel, or if you have traveled, anything, like, we've all been there. We've all had the constipation. We've all had the urgency. We've all had the bloating. We've been there. We've done that. And so it's trying to find those things that help regulate that and help keep you consistent. So fiber is a big one. Hydration is a big one. And movement, all of those come together. And it's kind of finding your formula for what helps you feel the best. So I know for myself, like, I'm really big on the water. I usually bring probiotics and I bring magnesium with me because I find the magnesium really helps keep things nice and regular, having that every night, just from an electrolyte balance standpoint. And it does have a nice calming effect and helps with movement if you haven't used magnesium before. Trying to make sure you've got some veggies in there. So whether that's like something at breakfast, like choosing the oatmeal or the whole grain bread over choosing the pancakes or the croissant, because you're going to get a little more fiber there and that's going to make you feel a little better. Or stacking up the fruit. Like, a lot of times if you're at a hotel, continental breakfast, they have tons of fruit usually there, whether it's like apples and bananas or whether it's like fresh cut fruit. Load up on that, get that in to start your day, because then you have that freshness and you have things going. And don't be afraid to pack things that kind of, work for you in your day to day. So whether it's oatmeal packets or chia seed, psyllium packets, or even psyllium pills, if you find that the psyllium pills work well for you instead of just doing the powder, bringing the probiotics, bringing kind of like the shelf stable yogurt drinks, or picking those up when you arrive. Things like magnesium, ginger, peppermint oil capsules are great. There's a lot of evidence around that in the IBS community. So enterically coated peppermint, it actually, when you consume it, it helps to release trapped gas. So if you're experiencing trapped gas or bloating, that's a really nice thing to do, just kind of like calming and soothing. And I usually bring herbal tea as well. So bring a few like ginger tea packets, especially if I'm staying in an Airbnb. I don't need to buy a whole packet when I arrive. I can bring just a few tea bags and then have that in the evening when I'm relaxing before I go to bed, partially help with my sleep, but then also help settle stomach before I go to sleep. And it's kind of thinking about like, what are some easy things that you can bring with you? And it's that reset mindset. So it's like, hey, I'm going to try to do my best in the next few days, but recognize that it's like, hey, things are not going to be perfect and that's okay. And sometimes making yourself worked up about like, oh my God, I don't have that much control over my food can actually make the digestion worse. So trying to kind of like be calmer about that. So I think we have some questions from clients or questions from the audience. So I'm going to ask them to the two of you. And so one thing that people have asked is, can I bring protein powder through TSA?
Heck yeah. And bring your creatine too.
Whoop, whoop.
I can't tell you how many clients I've had who have like brought little baggies of powder through, like, hey, you gotta bring what you need. And if that's going to help you hit your targets each day, then go for it.
Totally agree. Definitely bring it.
Another one is, if I'm stuck in a city and all there is a gas station or hotel vending machine, what are some good options that I can get?
Oh my gosh, hotel vending machine is so hard. There's like rarely anything good in those. And I feel like it depends on where you're at, and because some places are better than others. I don't know.
Sometimes they have trail mix. Sometimes they even have like the crispy mini rice chips or like the popcorners that are a better option.
I would say also sometimes like protein bars, if you can get them. Often those will be more sugary. When I was in traveling circus for a long time, we actually were in Canada on a tour and we had to live out of service stations. Like that's where we got all of our meals. It was awful. That and Tim Hortons. So it was like a donut shop or a gas station.
T-ho.
So it was so hard.
Tim Hortons is a lot better now. We have chili, we have grilled chicken wraps, we have the harvest wrap, and we have protein lattes, which are better than Starbucks protein lattes because they have 20 grams of protein in them.
I like how she says we, like
we.
She is on the Tim Hortons team.
You're on the board at Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons. Well, okay. I send a lot of my clients to Tim Hortons for the protein because a lot of my clients are still Canadian. So like I'm staying on top of all the news. Yeah, depending where you are in Canada too.
Tim Hortons News. Do you get their newsletter?
Yeah, I do. I get an email from Tim Hortons.
Wow, it's a hardcore fan over here. Gas stations usually have some good stuff. Like you can usually find a legit protein bar at a gas station. Sometimes they have like decent fruit even. It's hit or miss with the gas station.
Or sandwiches.
Like, they've got sandwiches usually. Oftentimes they will have hard-boiled eggs and string cheese, which are not terrible options. You can get jerky at a gas station. Sometimes they'll have refrigerated like protein shakes that you can drink. Usually they're pretty sugary, but we'll take what we can get here. Yeah, gas stations are a little bit more flexible. And then there's also like salty crunch. Like you can get popcorn. Sometimes you can even find like olive oil popcorn at a gas station, which is a miracle.
And also more and more gas stations, depending again where you are, you can get like the healthier jerky and healthier meat sticks and things like that.
Yeah, Chomps and those brands.
Yep.
Depends on where you are. I've been on road trips. I remember my parents and I drove from New Orleans back to Toronto. Let's say there's some stretches in there where there's not a lot of people. The gas stations are very sad.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Overall, when you're thinking about traveling, main thing, plan ahead. Planning ahead equals feeling better. Also, hydration is key to feeling human on travel days. One-off meals will not ruin your progress. In fact, we highly recommend enjoying your food. Focus on energy, digestion, and mindset. Reach out to us on email with any questions, episode requests, anything like that at nutritiondigestpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. We're on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify. Thanks so much. Enjoy your travels, and we look forward to talking with you soon, and we'll tell you all about our trip to New Orleans. Except for we're not going to New Orleans. We're going to Nashville. We'll tell you all about our trip to Nashville.